Hello everyone. Hi. We're excited to show you what the Nashville Youth Design Team has done over the summer.
So I just want to introduce our team. We're 20 high school interns that are from all around Nashville, and we all come from different high schools, and we just work on making the city better for youth. We wanted to give a special thank you to our summer sponsors and partners. Belmont University provided this venue and our meeting space for the summer. 2892 Miles to Go, supported by National Geographic, provided ArcGIS training and program funds so we would have an innovative way to display our data. And thank you to the Metro Development and Housing Agency for providing funds for the program.
And then just a little bit about how we work. We first start out with community research, and then we use that research to inform our designs, ultimately with the goal of advocating for long-term change.
So, 2892 Miles to Go. In our partnership with them, we learned how to use story mapping software like ArcGIS to create those story maps you guys saw earlier. From our work on youth belonging.
And then we just wanted to say a very big thank you to Anita from 2892 for helping us with this whole process. And then we also wanted to highlight some past data we collected from a past partnership with Imagine Nashville, where we gave adults and youth a survey about youth belonging, or about belonging. And when adults were asked if they felt like they belonged, 78% of them said they strongly agreed. However, when youth were asked that same question, only 60% of them said they felt like they strongly agreed that they belong in Nashville. So that discrepancy really stood out to the team and really drove our work this summer.
And here is our question that drove us to do our work. Why do so many young people feel like they don't belong in Nashville, and what can we do about it? To answer our question, we designed an activity where youth participants design a neighborhood that will make them feel like they belong in Nashville.
So we also led our participants through focus groups alongside the activity that you just mentioned. Basically, we would ask them questions like, where do you feel like you belong? If you wanted to belong somewhere, what would you have in your city?
So our four focus group locations were Northeast Nashville, North Nashville, West Nashville, and South Nashville.
And we conducted a total of 29 focus groups and had a total of 273 participants from both middle and high schools, and we had 8 youth design team members conduct these focus groups.
So over the spring and summer, we took those maps that people drew, specifically youth, and then we also analyzed the transcripts from the audio recordings that we had. And then through that, we created codes, which are basically themes of belonging. So we implemented all those codes that you can see above, like belonging, safety, transportation, and we used those to implement them into our designs.
And then some of the big themes that we found really contribute to youth belonging include having places to get energy out, having green spaces, having inclusive and diverse spaces, having safe spaces, both physical and emotional, having access to transportation, having affordable options, and having places to be able to connect with friends and family.
And from those key themes, we researched those to inform our designs.
So, at the beginning of our summer, we visited the intersection between Buena Vista Pike and Clarksville Pike. While we were there, we gathered a lot of observational data that we used to think about how can we enhance this space, specifically for youth. While we were there, we noticed it was really hot, there was a lot of concrete, and we implemented this into our designs.
So the overall presentations we're going to go in. Firstly, we're going to do the Bordeaux Plaza and Park presentation. Then we're going to do our Bordeaux Community Square. And lastly, our Bordeaux Courtyard group.
then we just ask that you hold any questions you have for the very end when we do a Q&A portion. And now we'd like to welcome our first group to present.
Hello everybody, my name is Isosa.
My name is Kylie.
I'm Mariah.
I'm Kia.
I'm V. And I'm Material Youth.
And today we want to show our design plan for the intersection on South Hamilton Road and Parksville Park. In our design, we focus on having a space where you can get energy out and also supporting the current community there. As stated before, over the spring and summer, we held many focus groups, and we pulled a quote from that says, I added a community center in the back of like a garden and a pool because I was thinking like I would love to be there and be involved in the community. This quote informed our design because we wanted to support the current community that was there while also having a space for teens to get energy out.
Context of Bordeaux. The population is approximately 4,800, 22% under 18, 23% are older than 60, and it is predominantly Black community.
So these are the goals that we have for our site. We wanted to make sure that it was accessible and exciting for the youth, make sure it was a space where they could socialize and connect with each other to increase that feeling of youth belonging in Bordeaux. We wanted to include activities that would make them excited, like playgrounds, gyms, and green spaces.
This is a bird's eye view of the site. As you can see in the back, there's a strip where there's a nail salon, a hair store, and a clothing store in the center. Here's our site context. The purple is our project site. Yellow is our residential areas. There are 2 local schools in the area, and Clarksville Pike is filled with commercial areas.
And these are some pictures from Google Street View. As you can see, the site is mostly a strip mall and pavement. The pavement causes the site to become incredibly hot during the summer, and in our design, we wanted to change that so it's a comfortable space for youth and the elders in the community.
So these are the issues that we noticed with our site. Like Isosa said, it was not a very shady area, and we wanted to address the lack of shade, the lack of sidewalks, and increase the programming for the youth.
And this is our proposed design. As you can see, we have a community center. We moved the commercial areas eastward. We added seating, a playground, a lawn area, parking, a splash pad, and then the entrance. And then the stars are just where the current bus stops are. We wanted to move the businesses eastward to act as a sound buffer for the park, so it's a more comfortable area to be in, and you won't have to hear the sound of cars and the Parksville Pike.
So this is the inspiration that we had for the playground and the splash pad. We know that 32% of the households in Bordeaux have children, which exceeds the national average, and sort of drove us to include the park and playground because we wanted to make sure the kids had a place to go to outside of home and play and socialize with each other. In past years, we've discovered through our data that playgrounds, and especially those with water features, are really exciting and enticing for kids, so we wanted to make sure that we included that in our design.
This is a map of the area right now. As you can see, there's a park. There are parks around, but aren't really close to the homes, and our proposal site is really close to the homes.
This is the lawn perspective that we had. We wanted to make sure that in addition to the park, we had just an open grassy area so that people could walk and sit, and include benches and picnic tables, along with trees for shade.
This is another quote from one of our focus groups. You can see that this person talked about how they need green spaces in their life, and we found that quote really important, so we decided to include green spaces in our design.
So continuing with the importance of green spaces, we wanted to make sure to include them in our project because they often have a really good effect on mental health, which is something that's pretty prevalent with the youth these days, and not just the youth, with everyone in general. So we wanted to make sure that we had those features in the area where it's mostly concrete right now.
This is another quote from our focus groups. In our site plan, we moved the current businesses eastward, and we wanted to add a mural on the back to attract youth to the plaza, to our proposed plaza. A lot of youth in our focus groups talked about a big importance on art in their community, so we wanted to add that in our design.
Gym is not free, so having a free gym will be beneficial to your health and to get out energy.
We wanted passive activities in the form of seating that utilizes natural elements to limit the need for mechanical systems.
And we wanted shade to be a key feature of our design, so the passive activities that we have will be easy to enjoy, and this map shows where that shade will be. There will be trees on the sitting area that will include canopy trees that will have large amounts of shade under it, alongside the shade tent on the playground, so it'll be easy to access and easy to play around during the summer. Finally, this is an overview of our design. Currently, the site is just a few businesses with large amount of pavement, causing the site to be very hot. And to combat this, our solution was providing a safe green space for teens and elders in the community to sit around, to chill, and just be at, along with offering areas with active and passive activities. Thank you.
So this presentation is called the Bordeaux Community Square. I'm Victor.
I'm Addison. I'm Lois.
I'm Alex. Snyder.
I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Luke.
So how we got to this point was during the spring and summer we conducted focus groups, and in those we talked to a bunch of youth from around Nashville, and we collected data from what they'd like to see in their city, and we analyzed it and coded it, and we found a bunch of themes regarding youth belonging, and some of those included safety, transportation, accessibility, third spaces, and green spaces.
So Bordeaux is a historically Black community with a rich history. It was very influential during the Civil Rights Movement, with Martin Luther King speaking there in 1960, and the Martin Luther King Bridge being built in 1980, allowing access to the community. The neighborhood has been home to students from the nearby historically Black colleges TSU, Fisk, and Meharry since the late 1800s, as well as multiple generations of working and middle-class Black families. In recent years, Bordeaux has gone through a lot of changes, with new people moving in and new buildings and businesses popping up, yet it has remained a quiet and close-knit community of mostly older folks.
And then here's just our existing site context. So as you can see, the space right now is not really well utilized. There's a lot of open space, a lot of open parking. It's just very bare. And then it's also not really walkable, and then there's not really a buffer between the space and Clarksville Pike, which isn't really safe. And then there's also spaces for like crosswalks, like crossing the road is very scary as we experience leader walking tours. So the space, there's just a lot to be enhanced right now. So then here's our proposed site plan. So if you see, the blue represents a community center that I wanted to add, because we found that there was a great need for third spaces for youth, so we definitely wanted to add that there. And then if you look at the green, that's a green space we wanted around the community center. And we also wanted to emphasize having that towards the back, away from Clarksville Pike. One, because Clarksville Pike is very crowded and not very safe for youth to be around, and also because right under there and on the side over there is houses, so we felt it would be good to have it closer to the community, and also it's more walkable, so the actual kids that live there can easily get to the places made for them. And then the pink represents a little shopping mall strip, because we wanted to give the space, the existing shops there, to the space to move to. And then the gray just represents the parking space, and then the yellow represents the traffic flow. And then at the very top, you can see the orange, which represents the bus stop that we wanted to enhance, and then also some crosswalks we wanted to add to make the walking safer.
So we felt like in this area there wasn't enough spaces for youth that they could really utilize. So as we were doing our focus groups, we collected a lot of data, and we found that third spaces, specifically community centers, were really important to youth. For example, one of the students from Sevier Park said
And the community center makes me feel like I belong because of the people there and probably where I have friends and family. So that really goes to show how community centers are important to youth, and we need to have them because Bordeaux currently does not have a community center. So these before and after pictures show that we could really transform the existing buildings into a bright and colorful, welcoming space for youth.
And then this is just a floor plan of the community center. On the first floor, we wanted to add a kitchen area and then a lounge, which would just be open to places to hang out, maybe play games, places to read books. And then we really wanted to add a kitchen because in the green space area, we also have a garden, so we thought it would be a good way to maybe incorporate some community bonding, whether that's with cooking classes, something like that. And then on the other side, we have a basketball court gym area, just so we can give kids a place to play games, play basketball, just get their energy out. And then on the second floor, we added a rooftop pool because a lot of kids really want water features near them. And since there's not a pool anywhere near them right now, we really wanted to add that there.
So here are some ideas of what the inside of the community center could look like. Overall, we just wanted to make it really bright and welcoming and colorful. And we also wanted to make it a place where people could learn, play games, or just hang out with their friends.
So this is a diagram we created of the basic layout of our design. We wanted to create a comfortable and accessible area with plenty of green space, a variety of options for activities, and easy access to shade and seating. As you can see, there's a path that allows access to every area of the park. There's an entrance with a small pavilion. I know I spelled pavilion wrong down here, but don't come after me, I won't do it again. So a pavilion with a bench and a small plaza, and then along the path you can see that there are trees and benches strategically placed, so there's always access to seating and shade. On one side of the community center there is a garden area which can provide not only beautiful scenery but also fresh produce. And then near the garden is another pavilion and some picnic tables so people can rest or eat or whatever in view of the garden. Then on the other side is a more active area with a soccer pitch, a third pavilion, and another plaza. And as with the path on this side, there are lots of benches, plenty of shade, trees. And then up on the top of the community center, there is a rooftop pool, and Victor will tell you about that. Oh, sorry.
So relating to what Luke and Addison said, our idea for the roof was to add a rooftop pool for the community center. For the youth that really want a pool, because there aren't that many in Bordeaux, well, this idea is not only a uniquely created space for the room that we were given, we hope to attract youth to make this a more friendly and safe place for youth to hang out.
As you can see, in the green space, we wanted to add a soccer pitch where kids can have fun and get their energy out. And this is how it's going to look. We wanted to look in the parking space with the green space.
What we have here is the crosswalks from earlier being repainted, and optionally you could have them in a fun color. I chose green. The bus stop, also earlier here, it's just a sign. I propose that we put in a cover that could provide shade and maybe a drinking.
All in all, we think our design will greatly improve the area for the community and the youth that currently live in the Bordeaux area. Our design will remove some of the unused parking space to create room for you to get energy out and socialize.
Hi, so our group's been working on a project we like to call the Bordeaux Courtyard. I'm Alice.
I'm Ivy.
I'm Danya.
I am Mateo.
I'm Jada. And I'm August.
So for the site context, we wanted to highlight some of the points of interest around the area that will heavily impact the site that we're working on, or deciding to work on. And the points of interest will also lead more people into the site. So some of the ones that I've noticed are, for example, the green is a transit center, and it leads after cross the bridge. The site is kind of like the first impression of the area, so I think it's really important for it to look presentable. And the blue up on the top there is a library, the orange is a YMCA, pink is a middle school, so it's really important.
Here's a closer look. As you can see, number 1 is the YMCA, and the second one is a school, and the third one is our site. And the green is a bike route. Why a bike route? We currently have a bus stop that goes to the training center, so having a bike route coming from the YMCA will really be helpful to get more visitors to our site. And I think you all noticed that the road kept coming. So on the top you can see it, how it's currently at with 8 lanes. And our proposal is on the bottom. As you can see, I just learned that we could have done a road diet. As a buffer, we made trees. We put trees with the waiting bus area, so it will be more safer for pedestrians. And you can see that there's the current gas station, and the current buildings that are on our site is gone now, and we have replaced them with green area.
So here's a bird's eye view of what the map currently looks like. As Mateo mentioned, it's a really big road. There's 8 lanes. When we were going there for our site map, we noticed that it was really loud. The crosswalks were really dangerous. When there's 20 of us crossing the road at once, it was really scary to not get hit by cars. We also noticed while we were there, it was really loud, and the sidewalks were very low to the ground. It was just overall, it felt very unsafe to cross the road. But for our proposed site plan, we added wider sidewalks so that children have, an easier time walking along the side of the road. We also added a larger island so that there's a bigger space to stop at between crosswalks. We also added crosswalks between every intersection because there wasn't any before, and that was the scariest part. Of course, we added a bus stop. As another group mentioned, it's just a sign, so we added a bus stop that Jada will talk about later with ample shade. As Mateo mentioned, we also added a bike route trying to lead from the YMCA across Trinity Lane to our courtyard. To protect the people biking, we have tree buffers so that they have ample shade and also are protected from the road. Is also just good for the environment. And of course, a curb extension, because if you notice in the previous image, you can see how all the cars were just swerving along, and it was very dangerous for pedestrians to be walking, especially around that area. So we extended the curb so that cars would have to take a more narrow turn, and we also narrowed the entrances into the courtyard so that cars would slow down more and not hit any pedestrians.
And here's another closer look. How can it look like?
The current bus stop is hard to see and does not offer shade. This design offers a youth-friendly design that is safer and more comfortable for people to wait while waiting for their bus. It is also more colorful, so people, when they're driving by, they won't just miss it. And when the bus stop comes, people will see the bus stop and know it's there and know it's a bus stop.
So some of the data that we collected last year shows that a large majority of youth go to shops and eat at restaurants whenever they're not at school or home. So we implemented this into our design by adding a major shopping center, which you'll see in the next slide, and lots of food trucks.
So here's a before photo of the actual site that we're putting the courtyard in. As you can see, as August just mentioned, there's just one shopping strip. And so because we know that youth really likes to go shopping, we were like, let's take that, let's add a whole other shopping center. So here we added a new building strip, and we also added a second story that Alice will be talking about in the next slide. But basically, just a quick recap, that's going to be affordable housing for people to live in. Also, we're adding a rooftop terrace, and because August just mentioned youth really likes food that gets them to go places, we have a specialized section for food trucks, and then as you can see there's the narrow entrances, and we also have a sculpture to allow people to know that they're entering the Bordeaux neighborhood. And then, of course, our courtyard in the middle that Daniel will be referencing later.
So one of the big parts of the project that we're really excited about is the second story expansion. That way all the businesses initially in the area can keep their space, but with a new facade and a second story that could serve as apartments and affordable housing for people in the community, and also some rental space for new businesses. We have a rooftop terrace on top that we hope serves as more green space where residents from the apartments can socialize and people from the shops and restaurants can come up and enjoy and eat. And then here's another look at our site plan. So on the roof, we have the terrace area with some seating. We also have some seating below where we hope food trucks will come and park, and a rooftop garden that the local restaurants can use. And we also have some permanent stands down on the plaza where local community businesses and small business owners can set up temporary pop-ups, and there can be a farmer's market on weekends.
So we also wanted to include a playground because a lot of youth from the focus groups we did mentioned having playgrounds really help them feel like they belong and have fun. So this is a quote from one of the Dream City workshops that we did at Coleman Community Center. I got a bunch of houses, the community pool, the playgrounds, the community garden, the library.
To reference back to what Alex said, the buildings will not be getting a second story for housing. For both residents and shoppers, we propose that the stores and shopping centers open both ways for easy access. We also want to offer seating and shade in the back for people to enjoy their meals or enjoy a walk outside.
So for the display in front of the project site, we decided on having a statue that would honor the rich history of the Bordeaux area. Bordeaux is an area that has faced many adversities, including several civil rights movements. So, to honor the predominantly African-American community in the area, the statue fountain combo featured would be the logo for the Black Lives Matter movement, an empowering fist. This will be the first thing you see when you enter the Bordeaux neighborhood.
So for a more in-depth look into the courtyard, on the top left image kind of shows the food trucks and the outdoor food area. And then the bottom two images kind of show how there's a mix of outdoor and indoor activities, like shopping for indoor, outdoor like parks. There's also a dog park that we added. And a playground, and we got kind of inspired by this quote from a middle schooler. Add a small little neighborhood and then right across the street a store, just like all the little shops that you go to eat.
And then here are some photos that we're using for inspiration about how we hope the final project would look. There's an example of how the green roof and terrace might look, and the playground, which we obviously want to be colorful and also have a safe, soft flooring for kids. Examples of other walkable shopping centers that we took inspiration from, and then an image of a terrace with seating and where members of the community can come socialize. Thank you so much.
And now we would love to welcome Willa Sands, a recent alum from the Nashville Youth Design Team, who spent her summer working at the NDOT internship.
Thank you, and let's give another hand to the Nashville Youth Design Team. I would now love to open the floor up for questions.
It was really cool presentations to hear about. My main curiosity is more about the capacity of all these proposed projects. Because there's a lot of thought put into the building space and how to utilize as much space as possible. But I didn't hear too much talk about the parking lots and how much space there's for that. So if I could get a little more clarification, that'd be really cool.
Well, when we were looking at it in my group, most of the area was a parking lot, yet only a very small amount of the parking lot was actually full, and then we looked at the bird's eye view on Google Maps too, and it was kind of the same thing there. Huge parking lot with only like a couple cars, and we thought, like, you know, all of this parking area just makes the area hot, and it's not being utilized. Well, a lot of it is not being utilized. And there are also areas to park in the surrounding areas, so we just felt it was unnecessary to have all that parking space, and it would be better utilized for other purposes.
Oh, and in our group, I'm so sorry I forgot to mention this, but we do actually include a parking garage. It's in between the two existing buildings. It would be about 2 stories tall and would make up for the parking lot space that we're converting to green space.
Thank you for the great presentations. I was really fascinated by your research methodology. It was really awesome. And it seems like you really dug into the problem. What are some things that really surprised you that came out of the research?
At least for me, I'd probably say just how underrepresented youth and like their needs and wants are in the city right now. Because doing all of these focus groups, I realized just how much their communities don't reflect what they need. Like, there's not a lot of third spaces for them to go. There's not a lot of options for them to have, especially since they're so young, especially because a lot of them don't have a car, so it's not very walkable or very accessible. So I think it was just surprising how the city was not really youth friendly, but that's really what we're trying to get at, advocating change for the better.
Good morning. Thank you all so much for your inspiring work. I wanted to ask why this site was chosen, whether by Civic Design Center, aside from its glaring deficits as a site, it's a nice gateway site. Do we know there's anticipated redevelopment there? Just wondering about the choice of site. And then as well, wanted to encourage you all to please share these projects with all of the Bordeaux area council members.
Thank you for asking that question. So the site that was chosen was actually, it was chosen by the Civic Design Center, and it's part of a bigger project that we're just kind of zoning in on.
Hi, I really liked you guys' presentation, like all of them, but I had like a question about safety. Like, what did you guys have in mind? Like, because I know you guys have like pools and stuff, and I saw like you had a lifeguard, but like, what are like the precautions that you're taking for like the youth and like their safety at the community centers?
I know that one precaution that we're taking is that the existing buildings right now are on the opposite side of Clarksville Pike. So in order to have a green space in our area to make it more safe, we wanted to move the buildings closer to the pike so that when youth are in the green space and stuff like that, they're not on that busy road. So we moved the green space to where the existing buildings are now provided.
Thank you so much for the incredible presentations. It's really inspiring to see how young people are truly acknowledging that we can reimagine and recreate spaces that we don't see today. And it sounds like this process is pulling like many of you from across the city to focus on this one area, and I'm really curious, what your own process was like in focusing on an area that, you know, you may or may not live in. I'm not really sure what areas of Nashville you're coming from, but what learnings, you know, came up along the way, what considerations as you're trying to focus on the Bordeaux community and think about the needs of that specific community as you're all coming across from wider Nashville.
So we actually met with members from the Bordeaux community just to know like better how the demographics were there, and we also wanted to know their real opinions. Like, if we came in and we changed the neighborhood, what do you not want to see? Like, where is it going too far, and what could we add? Of course, the demographic was mainly elderly people, so we wanted to ask like, how could we enhance the space but for youth without hurting your community?
Congratulations to all of you. These were really inspiring presentations. My name's Gary, and I work with the Civic Design Center, so I recognize a lot of you from your years of service to Nashville Youth Design Team. But I have a question for the new members who are coming in for the first time this year. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, like what have you learned, or what's your experience been like so far since you're in your first year of your hopefully 4-year long internship?
That is a really good question. I've been on this team literally just for the summer. What is it called? What I've learned is that GIS is so important. If you don't know what GIS is GPS, or locations, maps, anything like that. GIS is so important, and that's what we use a lot, as you can see in my group, which was the last one. We use a lot of street view pictures to like add on so we can show you exactly what we was talking about and exactly where we wanted everything at. We wanted to show you exactly how we wanted to put things. We didn't want anybody to be like, oh, well, where is this exactly at? We tried to like tell you exactly where we wanted it, show you exactly how we wanted it. What else have I learned? That even though we are all at different schools, and mostly I don't think really nobody really knew each other when I came, that it's a really big community in our group, and everybody is so nice. Like, it is very welcoming when I came in. Everybody's nice. Like, the kids are really easy to talk to. If you are confused, just come to them. It's really nice. The instructors are really nice. I like having the instructors or whatever. They gave us a task and they didn't butt in. They didn't try to put their opinion in, like push us, like, oh, well, adults and this. They didn't try to do that. They just sat back. They told us, hey, we're working over here. What do y'all want to see? And they just let us do research ourselves. If we needed guidance, we would go to them. But really, we already had each other to like get guidance from each other. It was really welcoming. It was really just a big family in the like our group.
So I do want to say thank you. All of these are really exciting, and I personally am ready to grab a shovel and go to school or a jackhammer. They might give me a jackhammer. So one of the things I was thinking about is that I think we've seen throughout the last 10 years of Nashville or so that as the city changes, a lot of times redevelopment can also change the character and can gentrify a neighborhood for its original residents. So I'm curious, as you all are thinking about retail spaces and affordable housing, if there were conversations with local business owners or local residents about what opportunities to preserve space for these local business owners and these local residents to remain engaged with the community, if anything like that had come up or would be a consideration.
When having conversations with local residents, I don't think we really talked to business owners that I know of. But what we did see is that they don't have tall, big, 4-story buildings, skyscrapers over there, big city lights, loud or whatever. It's quiet, it's slow, it's dim, it's small, and it's together. We tried to keep that, as you can see, we tried to not go over 2 stories. The highest we made was 2 stories. We didn't try to do like the whole parking lot buildings, and we tried to incorporate green spaces, trees. We didn't want a lot of just like busy cluster, because that's already what it had. We wanted to be open, we wanted to be together open, and we wanted to be inclusive. Retail business owners, we didn't talk to them, so yeah, but we tried to keep the residents and try to keep their community together and how they already had it, just adding a little bit of tweaks to make it more open.
Sorry, I just also wanted to add, Jada said that beautifully, you're in the same group, but we also just wanted to say that while we didn't talk to the business owners yet, if our project goes through, we were definitely going to discuss plans with them because, as you saw in our presentation, we wanted to open up the backs of the shops so that the community would have an easier time going through on, I believe, what street is that? Buena Vista. So we did open up the area because we want the shopping centers to have a better community. So we left all the original shopping center there rather than changing that. That's why we added another shopping center for youth. But we wanted to make sure that the local community wouldn't be too affected.
Hey y'all, great presentations. I'm with NDOT Community Engagement, and I love to hear the ways that you incorporated other youth voices in your presentations and not just thinking about your own perspective, but other students as well. And I loved the focus groups and the Dream City activity you came up with. I'd love to know, what are your recommendations for NDOT and for city agencies? How can we better incorporate youth in our decision-making processes?
I mean, first of all, I think it's so valuable that you're considering youth voices. It's often not a community that people really think of, even though obviously everyone at some point in their life is a member of that community. I think the biggest thread that we found throughout all our research is really this emphasis on third spaces, which is right now a lot of teens feel like they don't have a place to go outside of school or home. And places like malls are either expensive or have curfews. Often those third spaces can be unsafe. And what's really important for teen mental health is having those spaces to find your community and make friends and decompress. And that's often like athletic facilities. People really like having outdoor places to play soccer or play sports with their friends, or centers that are just like cheap and accessible, that have easy transportation to get to. And I think that can look a lot of different ways, but as long as there are youth in that conversation, I think that would be the most valuable part.
And then now we would love it if you could scan this QR code so we can hear some of your feedback. It'll take you to menti.com and you can put in this code and just share what you want us to know.
Thank you so much for listening to our exhibition, and if you haven't gotten a chance yet, we would love if you could come read our story maps. They were written by our own Nashville Youth Design Team members, and they're in the room over there, and also don't forget to grab a snack.